All right, well, welcome back to the Go Rush Weekly Watch List. It is Sunday, January 22nd, and the market is looking poised to make a very nice move. We had caught a nice move on Friday, and this past week was pretty good. We did have like good trendy days. We did have one or two choppy days and two good trendy days. So I would still count that as a win. I like when we have trendy days. They make my week. But I'm going to try to keep this call under an hour. So I'm going to just go ahead and get right into it. On your screen right now is SPX. So let's get started with SPX. Now, SPX has been trading its way within this broadening formation for quite some time. I actually took it off of my chart because it was, we've had it. We're still in it, right? Like I'm just tired of looking at it, but to bring it all back into perspective, we have this kind of setup going on. So you can see that SPX is right at this level of resistance once more, right? And this is on the weekly. You see the weekly here on the top right. Now, before we get into the weekly analysis, let's talk about the monthly. Looking at this candlestick versus last week's candle, this month versus last month. So far, we're still inside the range of December's candlestick, December's price action. But one thing that I find really interesting is, although December was a red month overall, and we did make a new high, we failed to make a new low based on a previous month. So we didn't break November's low in December, right? And then come November, we didn't break October's low in November. So far, since October, we've been making higher lows on the month. Right, higher lows on the month, but that's higher lows working our way back into this trend line. So I just find that a little bit interesting. We have, let me get rid of sync. Okay. So once again, we have that inside bar. So it can really go in any direction. The SPX has been pretty strong. In the past few weeks, ever since especially this midway December candlestick, kind of really we opened up over here and we went up as high as 4,100, and then we rejected really, really hard and formed a red candle after that. And then we had 2 weeks of chop. After that, 2 weeks back to the upside, right? Working our way back up to this trend line. Last week, we opened up at the high and we kind of fell down hard off of this trend line. And but buyers stepped back in on Friday to bring the market back up, right? SPX kind of recovered based on whatever was going on in the market on Friday. So I drew a Fibonacci Fibonacci retracement from the move here at the low of October 10th to the high of the 28th of November that week. And so that's your 0, that's your 100%. We pulled back, we've retraced about 50% of that move, as you can see here by the 0.5. Right here around 3,800. We pulled back to 3,800. We tested it as support for 3 weeks straight. 3 weeks of straight test, right? We came down. We fell hard on this week, and we fell into that support level right here. Checked it once, checked it twice, checked it 3 times, and then kind of buyers said, you know what, I think this is a good spot. And buyers bought and brought the price back up, right? So now we're rejecting this trend line a little bit, although, Friday, as you can see, Friday's price action kind of negated the downside move on Thursday and ate into some of Wednesday's price action. And we're right back at that 200-day moving average, right? So very important spot. And lots of volume came in on that move. So I think that it's very interesting where we are with SPX right now. If we look over to the left-hand chart on the bottom left, this is your hourly chart. Now on the hourly, as you can see, it kind of like it went sideways a bunch. We did form higher lows throughout this whole process. Let me just draw that out real quick. There's a low. Here's a slightly higher low, right? Slightly higher low here, slightly higher low here. So we are uptrending. I mean, it's clear by looking at the chart, but if we do fall back down off of that strong resistance line, or if we lose the 20, I'm going to be interested to see how it reacts, not only to the 50-day, which is right here, or the 20-day, which is right here, or the 100-day, right? But also this trend line here, this support trend line that we've been catching for the past past week or so. a past couple of weeks. And it looks like in a couple of days, this 100-day is going to meet that support level, that rising trend line. So I think that that's going to be a strong area if we do reject hard off of either this level at the 200-day moving average or this the broadening formation down, right? The broadening formation down resistance line. So that's what I'll be watching. I really love the volume that came in. No action on this until we get back. So now looking at SPX on the hourly, it's a little bit more clear. You see that there's a lot of price action that traded around this area here, right? So just all of this shaded box here. And that is from 39, I would call it 39.75 up to 4,000, right? 39.75 up to 4,000. That's like kind of where price decided to settle for a few days, right? So we kind of traded sideways along it here on this day, right? With the 200-day moving average. We broke through it the next day, but then we kind of based up above it at this range, right? And then from there, decision came. We tried to take out the trend line and we fell hard. And now we're right back at that level. So I expect that we're going to trade within this level, this between 39.75 and 4,000. So 25-point move, 25-point range for maybe a day or two. And I expect a big move out of this yellow box, either up or down. So I'll be watching that. Really, it depends on, I would say, Apple, right? Whatever's going on with Apple. These two, obviously, if you look at SPX chart and you look at Apple chart, they're always very similar. They always move pretty much the same way, right? So now, what's going on with Apple right now? In the monthly, we're still on the inside month. Weekly, we kind of, same thing, right? Same exact setup as SPX, where we kind of found a little bit of a base. And although we fell pretty hard from this kind of consolidation here, we fell pretty hard these past few weeks, but buyers stepped in and brought the price back up. If you look at the daily, we're underneath the 50-day, which if anyone follows tech charts, all tech obeys the 50-day. The 50-day is always a big inflection point for tech stocks. So, and that's always been the case as long as I've been traded. It's always, you see some sort of reaction around the 50. So what we're looking for is for Apple to break above this high of day here of 138.61 to then try to test that 50-day. Now, I'm going to go ahead and send an alert here, and I'm going to take it off my screen just because, there's no other cause for concern for Apple. Anything underneath the 50, to me, it really isn't worth it, just because there's a lot of kind of, there's not much going on here. It's just a bunch of chop. And really, I want to see it above the 50-day first, and then I want to see it above. Let me get rid of some of these lines here. I want to see it above the 50-day as my first target, which is why I have my alert there. The next target after that would be this line and then this line. Now, the reason why I like these two is because you see the sell pressure was extremely strong on these 3 days here. This day, and this day. Even after a massive gap up, we fell pretty hard, and that kind of caused a waterfall, right? Of a bloody waterfall, right? Especially this day, all the volume came in on this day, so I find that interesting. So above the 50-day, we have a chance to take out these shorts here, right? All the shorts have their stop losses here. We got the 100-day, and then we have this level here, and then we have this level here. So those are the few levels that I'll be watching and treating as magnets for Apple. But really, again, it doesn't matter until we get out of that 50-day. So I'll be watching for that. Let's see. So now I'm gonna go quickly into my setups. I have I have a handful to the upside, and just in case SPX decides to. And again, these are all pretty market dependent. I would say Baidu not so much. Baidu kind of does. Baidu's market is whatever Baba's doing, right? Whatever China decides to put out in the news, that's what Baidu follows, right? It doesn't really follow the SPX too much. So Baidu is probably the only one here that's independent of the SPX. So looking at Baidu, and we had a Baidu play. If you held it, you made money on it. So congrats. But I'm looking for an even bigger move. The reason why is because if we look at the monthly, we kind of had inside month, right? We had a downtrend inside month here on the month of November. Broke the range to the upside, and let's see, the high here is 124.11, the high here is 125.23, and then on this month of January, we've taken out this high so far. We've taken out all three of these highs. Now we're targeting this high over here, this high of 145.91, right? So that's my next target for Baidu. Now we're not far off. We only just a few dollars off, right? If you look over at the weekly, weekly kind of formed a bull flag here, right? So you see, here's your flagpole right here, and then here's your flag. And again, I mean, you know, sometimes like you'll see these patterns on the smaller time frames, a 5 minute, 10 minute, 30 minute, hour, whatever the case is. But they work on every time frame, you know, and if it's like on a weekly time frame like this, and you really have to have patience for it to play out, right? And it might mean you form a red week for 4 out of the 5 days, and on the 5th day it you know, forms a hammer, right? That might be what the case is. So you just have to be patient with it. You got to really be patient with it and follow the, you know, whatever your gut tells you on the move and your diligence tells you on the move, you got to follow it. Now Baidu has earnings coming up on the 23rd of February, so we have some time. Let me get rid of this. So my next target for Baidu, it almost took it out a couple weeks ago, but my next target for Baidu is 140.27, which is the pivot right here. These 2 weeks were kind of based and went, you know, came down, went sideways, and then fell hard from there, right? So that's going to be a hard level to take out. I'm sure there's a bunch of sellers sitting right at this level, but once we reach that level, then I will go ahead and target the next level here and then the next one there. Those are the next targets. 140.27 is the first one, and then I will go ahead and say 50% of this candlestick, right? 50% of that candlestick. So I'll draw my fib on it, and I'll go ahead and remove all the other ones except for the 50, right? Thank you. So 140.27, and then we have line. Do I have a price? Cool. 140.27, then 143.19, and then 151, then 155. Those are my levels for Baidu. Now on the daily, it had that obviously massive bull flag that formed on the weekly, played out as well on the daily, just much more slowly. Baidu, as you'll notice by looking at the chart, there's a lot of little gaps. Like there's no continuity in price action. Sometimes it'll open higher, sometimes it'll open lower. It does whatever kind of it wants, right? But it follows a trend. So if you look, we've been trending upward for the most part, right? And I know that's really ugly, but we have the highs here, higher high, lows, low, higher low, higher low, higher low, right? So we've been trending upwards. And so I'm hoping that we just continue to trend upwards, right? All we got to do is kind of retest these previous highs here. As long as we retest these previous highs and overtake them, make new highs, then my faith in Baidu is strong. Not much to see on the hourly, but Baidu is one of the ones that I think are going to continue to move up to the upside, especially since we have that 50-day crossing through the 100-day right here. That's like kind of a mini golden cross. What we want is that 50 crossing through that 200, right? But that won't happen until we start making higher highs. So I'll be watching for that. If you look at the hourly, I mean, we have some gaps to fill, but this kind of looks like an inverse head and shoulders or a cup and handle kind of going on, right? Here's your cup. And then there's your sideways handle, right? Holding support, holding that VWAP. So we got to continue to fill this gap up. And then from there, hit that 140.27 to continue to be bullish. Next one I have is LRCX. Excuse me, LRCX, very interesting. So LRCX is formed a double inside month. So here's the month of November. The price of LRCX is ranging between the previous price, high and low, in December, and we're doing the same thing in January, ranging between the price, the high and low of December's price. So double inside month. Range contraction leads to range expansion. So what that means is, as the range gets tighter and tighter and tighter, once it decides and it chooses which way to go, it's going to go there with gusto. It's going to make a nice strong move out of the range, right? So range expansion leads to range contraction. Oh, excuse me, range contraction leads to range expansion, and vice versa. They kind of both work. You know, it's like it's all cyclical. So ranges get large, they get small. They get large, they get small until they get really large, means buyers or sellers are in control. They get tight, which means that buyers and sellers are in agreement for a little while until one of the teams decides to let go, and then they get strong, and then range expands, right? So it's just a game of balance. Looking at the weekly, we kind of had like a weird flag moment forming here. It kind of fell down underneath the support of these previous 5 weeks on this candlestick. And then buyers stepped in and brought it back up for 4 weeks straight. And 4 weeks of forming all new highs, right? So, excuse me. So but then sellers came back and stepped in around this trend line here. So this is the area that we really got to watch out for. Take out the high of 483.47. I think above that high, we can definitely try to target this high, and above this high, we can get into the 510s, 520s, 530s. If you catch LRCX on the right day, you'll catch one of these kind of candlesticks, or the right week, right? Where you catch one of these candlesticks where you have a massive range. The range of this is between 419 and 504. That's an 85-point range. It's insane, right? Insane. So a tightening range such as what's going on here in the monthly, 3 months in a row, will lead to big moves like this. So that's what I'll be watching for LRCX. We have kind of a shoulder here, and then we have a head down here, and we have a potential for another shoulder forming over here inside of this wedge. And as long as it stays above 50% of this wedge, right? So it doesn't come down to like down here. As long as it stays above like 450, I think it's safe for an upside play. On the contrary, for short term, I would say maybe a little bit of pullback, only because I see on this hourly, I see a little bit of a head and shoulders forming here, right? There's your head. Oh, sorry, there's your shoulder, there's your head, and there's your other shoulder right there, right? So there's a potential for it to reject again around this area, or where it's at now, and come back to this 50-day moving average. Let me make this a little bit darker. Let's make that a little bit darker. There. Right? You got this high here, higher high, lower high, which means buyers are showing a little bit of weakness. So if buyers don't continue to, if they don't eat their Wheaties in the morning, then this can fall easily, come back down to the 50-day. And at the 50-day, it might give us another play to the upside. So, it's something that's quite interesting. If you look at LRCX just formed a golden cross on the 23rd of January, which was the 23rd, the 17th of January. Sorry about that. Which was a week ago. So that golden cross can be a catalyst for an upside move. And they have earnings on Wednesday, as DYT said. They have earnings at aftermarket close on Wednesday, and the sector that they're in, we have to. They've been showing a little bit of weakness in terms of price action, but that's just because this sector is one of the ones that's gained the most during the 2020, 2021, or rather 2020 run. And even in 2021, they showed a little bit of strength. But now, so the weakness comes from, I think, just people taking profits, putting their money back into stocks that are a little bit more safe, such as oil and gas and steel and other commodities that are kind of recession proof, right? If you look at the headlines, it says Broadcom, Nvidia, Qualcomm among Mizuho's top chip picks for 2023. TSM had had a mixed Q4, but it will cut spending. I'm sure that there's going to be similar catalysts for LRCX. And if not, then LRCX is going to fall really, really hard, right? It can easily fall right back down to the support line here. So one big move or another, we'll be watching LRCX. I think it's upside based on what I'm seeing now, but things can change, right? So the next one I have is Nvidia, and I don't want to make this like a really tech heavy week for us to watch. Like, there's other things that are moving, right? Obviously, I always have my eyes on oil. We always should have our eyes on oil, and like some of the other sectors such as consumer discretionary. Some Coca-Cola, some Pepsi, the Targets and the Walmarts of the world, right? Things like that. But the setup is nice on Nvidia. I really like it. So what I see on a monthly is we have 4 back-to-back higher highs. So 4 back-to-back higher lows, right? We have this low here, higher low here, higher low here, higher low here so far. We've also formed higher highs in October, November, and December. January still pending, right? We still have about 8 days left. 8 or 9 days left in this month in order to bring the price up above this previous high. So that's my target. My target's the high of December, right? If we look over at the weekly, and actually I'm going to draw a fib on this from this December high to the low of October. And let me just go ahead and fix my fib so that all of my levels are back. All right. And let me give myself an upside target, 1618. All right, cool. That's fine. So it reversed at the middle of October, and it kind of made this big, strong move up. Rejected here, where pretty much everything else in the market rejected, and then pulled back to around 38.2 fib, or pulled back about 62% of the move. And now buyers stepped in. We formed an inside week on this week, and then we gapped completely out of it and ran and have been running ever since, right? Looking at the daily, we kind of had that consolidation, right? We had the range expanding to the downside, range contracting within this one candlestick, range expanding to the upside. So, and then we also have kind of a daily cup and handle, right? Here's your cup. These two candlesticks formed kind of your handle, and here's your breakout slowly occurring, right? Now, let me see. Did we actually take out the high? Let me see what the high is on this. 178.72, and we're currently at 178.78. So we did break out above the high of the of this candlestick here, this daily candlestick, this one here, with really good volume on Friday. Now, the next two targets for this are, just keep it simple. Hit the top of that candlestick, and then from there go to 187.90. And if we don't hold above, I would call it 177.50. If we don't hold above 177.50, we can easily come back down and test this 170.83 level where the 786 fib is. So, just to test this previous resistance here, we had resistance for these 2 days, just to test it as support once more before we kind of continue to move our way up. But I think that especially with all the volume that came in at the very last hour of this candle, of this price on the video, lots and lots of volume to keep the price up above and break that high was the most important part, right? You see if you look at the volume profile, these are basically showing you where all the volume was traded for the day. So volume on a price scale versus a time scale. And at the beginning of the day, it was down here until you see it made that massive move. And then the rest of the day, all the volume formed around this level here at 178.15. And so that last hour was kind of a battle. Actually, let's go into it real quick. Just want to see what it looks like. Yeah, so we kind of bounced, pulled back a little bit, tried to make a new high, made a new high, pulled back a little bit, tried that high again, pulled back a little bit, and then broke through on the very last candle. The absolute last candle. Look at all this volume that came in on that candle. So what that shows me is, and it doesn't usually mean much, but what it shows me is that, the big institutions they're not staring at these things all day like we are. They're like, all right, buy it at this price at this time, buy it and sell it at this price at this time. And usually you'll see the most volume come in at the first hour and the last hour of the day. That's when the big institutions and the big traders with big money are trading. So if you see big money step in and it's all one big ass green candle in terms of volume, then that gives me faith and the buyers won that round. That gives me faith that there's a continued move to the upside. So I'll be watching NVIDIA very closely this week. So on the 26th of January, which is what, Thursday? Let's see. The 26th is Thursday. So on Thursday, the FDA is meeting on COVID-19 boosters, which will affect Moderna, Pfizer, BNTX, and J&J. So I think, do I have more? Let's see. More upside. I do have more upside, but I just want to switch quickly to Moderna for that mention. So I have Moderna this week to the downside. The reason why I have Moderna to the downside, so if we look at the monthly, we have a higher low on this month, and then we broke out, obviously broke previous resistance and continue to break previous resistance to the upside. We had a big sell pressure in December, towards the end of December, and then we had kind of a sideways action so far in January, trying to make new highs, but still within the previous month's price action. If you look over at the weekly, we've been inside this channel for quite some time now, right? Bouncing around this channel, kind of a broadening formation, but a lot of rejection up here. And on the weekly, we kind of had a evening star reversal pattern. right? So we had this big upside move with an evening star reversal pattern, which is a big move, a doji, and then a big reversal candle. Now, you might be able to call this here, these three candles here from December 27th that week to January 9th, right, that week, 2 weeks ago. You might be able to call that a morning star. However, I don't have much faith. I see a bunch of sellers stepped in on this candlestick. We did make a nice move. I think this was due to one of their competitors having earnings or some sort of catalyst. I don't know what the catalyst was actually. Let's see. I mean, they're working on RSV vaccines now. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what caused Moderna to move like this. I felt like it was earnings, but earnings isn't until middle of February. So I'm not quite sure. But we did have a catalyst which caused the price to move up in the after hours. And then it sold off right after. Like it moved up, it opened, and it sold way off. On Friday, even though we had a big bullish day on Friday, not a lot of bulls stepped in. I'm looking at the volume here. Not a lot of bulls stepped in on Friday's price action from Moderna, right? So we had a bunch of sellers here, a second down day, and then we've continued to make a new low on this day. Now, the only thing that's kind of holding us up here is this, I think it's the 9. Let me see, is that the 9? Let me just make sure. My setup here and my setup at my office are two different setups, so sometimes I forget it's the 9. Okay, so we're kind of being held up by the 9. We are below the point of control. As you can see, the point of control is for that day was, where is it? What does it show me? It showed me the daily. Yeah. Oh no, we're above the point of control. We're up here. So we're held up by the 9. We bounced off the 9, and we kind of held the day. However, we didn't retrace much into this previous candle or this candle. I'm gonna go ahead and draw a fib on this. From the bottom of this move here to the top. Now, and if you look at the hourly really closely, you see that that last candlestick was kind of a shooter to the downside. So we have this shooter here on the daily. We have lots of sellers here on this weekly candlestick, and then we have this shooter on the hourly. So I'll be watching these. I'm looking for this to get below this point of control here. Set my alert. The point of control for Friday was lower than the point of control for Wednesday, which was lower than the point of control for Tuesday. The point of control for Friday is just about where the point of control is for Monday. For Tuesday of last week. Right. So if we come back to this level and we don't maintain this level, I'm looking for it to run really, really quickly back down to the 187.78 20-day SMA. And then from there, really more importantly, I'm looking for it to come back to the 50, which is right where my 183.75 level is. So I'm looking for pretty much the opposite of what we saw on NVIDIA, where it kind of had this bullish move come down and continue. I'm looking for a bearish move, which occurred here. Let me just draw it out. Bearish move. Pull back, right? I'll even give it the 618 fib and then continue. That's what I'm looking for Moderna. Now, I'm not sure how it's going to line up with this catalyst, but the catalyst is something definitely to watch out for. So, you could play whatever the play is into Thursday morning. But come Thursday, this is going to become a full-blown lotto if you're still in the play. So just keep that in mind. Let me finish. I have Moderna. Let me go ahead and go into the next downside. Costco. Costco has been channeling for a couple of months now, since January of 22, so a year now. We've kind of been in this channel. Inside month so far. Actually, did we break the low? Let's see. 477.90. 450. No, not yet. Oh, 447.90. Yeah, so we did break the low by a couple of dollars. So we did break the low the previous month by a couple dollars, and we still haven't. I mean, I have my alert here for this high, which I would love for us to take out for us to get bullish. But right now it looks like it's forming a bear flag or an H, right? Either a bear flag or an H, depending on what you are used to. Now, let's see. We had a bunch of buyers that stepped in on Friday, right? But had it not been for Friday, I mean, the reason why I like this to the downside is because we had this big strong move, went sideways a bunch, made a new high, rejected off that 50, and then rejected hard, right? Now Friday, everything went up. The whole market went up. If it wasn't for Friday, this would have been a nice big candle to the downside, which would have been an evening star, right? It would have been an H or an evening star. Now, I think that the 50-day is very crucial for Costco. So I'll be watching that. We also have that 100-day that looks like a hawk, like it's approaching its prey right through that 50. It looks like it's going to cross through that 50 any day now, maybe the next couple of days. So I like it to the downside. I will set my alert for the break of the moving average. Put it right there. So I have my upside alert, which coincides with the 50-day, or sorry, the 100-day. My downside alert, which will bring us back into the price action of Thursday. I just like it to the downside. It's super clean on the weekly to the downside. It looks like it wants to retest this low one more time, at least once before kind of seeing what it's going to do. So that's why I like it to the downside. There's nothing crazy on it. I had my long bias back when we were over here. And you know, back on this candlestick actually, and it broke right through, and we had a nice play for nice move for 2 weeks, and now that it can't continue to move, I think that it's going to come back down. So get rid of that. Let's see. So that's Costco. And with Costco, you can keep it, you know, every $15 or so, right? So $4.75, $4.60, $4.45, $4.30, etc., etc. Let's see. We did Moderna. Let's do Boeing, and then actually let's go back to the bull side, and then we'll come back. Starbucks. I'm always bullish on Starbucks, so there's nobody that can change me on that either. All higher highs, a bunch of indecision, big breakout candle on the month of November. Kind of a sideways, choppy month in December. It didn't fall as hard as everything else did in December, and now in January we formed a new high. We broke out. Obviously we're inside of the price of December's candle, broke out and formed a new high, right? If we look at the weekly, clear uptrend. I mean, we could even start from here. Higher high, higher low, right? So far it's been maintaining trend. I want to see if it wants to do something like this first before it breaks into the upper 50% of this big red candlestick of last year, January. Now, I expected it to pull back where it did because we had three straight weeks of sell pressure here. This week, and this week. We've already undone this week, and now we're working on this week, right? We kind of reached the top of it, and then some last minute sellers kind of stepped in. So I want to see it kind of find the support, maybe where previous resistance was here on this week at 105, where sellers happen to step in, find its support, and then kind of work its way back up, right? What the hell is this? I've never seen that before. Interesting. I wonder what that is. So if somebody just tried to speak, my bad. I have my speakers down. Spotify seen cutting staff as soon as this week to cut costs. Okay, so just like everybody else. There's a lot of activity in the market in terms of news this week. If you guys just take a look at trade floor, what DYT is posting, there's a lot going on. And maybe you don't trade some of those names, but some of those names might affect some of the names that you do trade. So I would just go ahead and keep your eye on a post there. That Spotify is going to be, I mean, it's not major news. Like Google laid off a bunch of people and it barely made a peep. Right? Spotify doing the same thing. It might barely make a peep, but it's still foreshadowing, right? It's still foreshadowing. All that means to me is like this strong trend that we're in to the bull side it could be short lived. Who knows? But I like Starbucks to the upside. Let me get rid of that. If it holds these moving averages here, the reason why I like it so much is because it has all the daily EMAs right underneath it. We also have, is this the 50? Yeah, this is the 50 SMA and the 20 SMA. So we have some support just in case it does fall to try to fill this gap right here. But looking at where it is now, it looks like it kind of fell towards previous resistance, right? Previous resistance on these couple of days. We found support, and our buyers are stepping in. So I want to see it kind of break the high of Thursday, and then work its way into the high of Friday. Of Wednesday, and then from there, kind of work its way into the previous January highs. And on the 1 hour, it kind of slid down here, formed a nasty downtrend, and we broke out of it come Friday. It went sideways and it broke out. So I just want to see it continue this upside move. This 1 hour candlestick here is kind of scary, but I'm not scared of a little pullback. A little pullback is healthy. So I'll be watching it to the upside. The next one I have is Square, SQ. SQ didn't quite do it for us last week the way that I expected it to, but the setup is still intact. If you look at the monthly, we have a falling wedge breakout. We took out the previous target of this inside month of December. We took out the high of December, so we're breaking to the upside. Actually, I think we took the high of November out as well. Let me see. 76.22, 75.77. So yeah, we took out the high of November as well. So we broke this high, broke this high. Right now, the next target will be the month of October, which is 76.71. So we're about 60 cents away from that one. Let me go ahead and move this over to here. And then from there, we can try to take this bad boy out right here. This, hit up to like 90 or so. And just to give it a little bit better perspective, I love the weekly on this. Actually, we have that falling wedge. We also have like an inverse head and shoulders. Here's your shoulder here. There's your head, and here's another shoulder to work its way up right through the neckline. We're at the neckline right now. So break through this, and we can easily come up to test that 88. From 88, go to 90. From 90, go up to, this range over here where we might chop around a little bit, around 97 or so. Let's see. And then on the daily, all the shorter term moving averages are kind of pointing up. The 100 days flattening out, right? 100 days white one here is flattening out. And we crossed right through the 200, even though we rejected it earlier in the week. Made a nice move through the 200. And so let me make this a little bit smaller. So, and the target's a little bit easier to see on the daily. Set that there. Give me another one right here. We have a nice little gap above that. There and there. Those are your targets. 76, 71, 77, 88, 80, 84, 44, and 88. So I like this for a continued move. On the hourly, you see a bunch of just very, very bullish. Almost no red candle on the full day of Friday. Let's look at PayPal, because PayPal is closely tied to Block, Square, whatever they call themselves nowadays. PayPal monthlies, we have an inside month, so we have a potential for, I think we broke through the previous high. Let's see. Did we? 80.75, 80. So we're at the previous high, right? We're right at the previous high, or we've tickled, we've tickled the previous high. We tapped it and we kind of rejected. A little bit of sell pressure came in and brought us back down from this previous high, right back down. And now we kind of found our footing and are bouncing back up. So I'm going to go ahead and set an alert for this. Let's set it on the daily. I'm going to set it right here where all these sellers are. If Square goes, then PayPal goes. So let's leave it at that. And if it gets through that level and it gets through that 80.75, it's going to go straight to that 200-day moving average. The next one I have is the Square X. I always keep my eye on X. X is forming a 3-bar play on the monthly. We had this inside month. We broke it to the upside, kind of resting bar here, and now continuation. Same kind of setup as Starbucks. So, and then we also have that bull flag breakout on the monthly. Here's your flag pole. There's your flag, and there's your breakout. It's much easier to see on the weekly, but very, very clean price action. On the weekly, you have kind of a, I wouldn't even call it a inverse head and shoulders because of all of this big move right here. But I would definitely call this like a strong test of support right at this $17.84 level. Every time it came back onto this level, it just bounced like on a trampoline, right? The difference is over here, we broke through this previous zone. You see all the resistance here. We tested it all as support for the past few weeks, so very interesting spot. Good to be on the other side of it. All right, you see all the resistance on this side, all the support on this side. So, and continue to move up to the upside. Let's see, is that an inside week? No, we broke last week's high. We maintained last week's low, but we broke last week's high. Bunch of sell pressure came in at this level, and we fell kind of hard from that level. But then Thursday and Friday we recapitulated and undid about 50% of the move. So I think that we can continue the move. Let's see, do they have earnings? They have earnings on towards the end of the month, or the beginning of February 2nd. So 2 weeks. Earnings in 2 weeks, so there's a potential for earnings run up if there's something good going on in this industry. I'm sure news will start coming out based on X, but I like it to the upside. It has a strong move on, and there you go. STLD has earnings on Wednesday for X sympathy, so I'll be watching STLD's earnings to see what is going on in the sector, and if they are showing strong growth and a lot of buyers, then I'm sure that those buyers will be affecting X as well. Thank you for that, DYT. So we have, let's see, and then it's kind of, and the other reason why I like it is because it had kind of this broadening down on a daily. This kind of a broadening down, and it's kind of like, this could have been a very nasty day for us, Thursday. But the fact that buyer stepped in from the very jump is good. It pulled back. So buyer stepped in, it pulled back, and then buyers continued it. So I'll be watching X. I need it above this level here at 28.39. So you won't hear a peep from me until it crosses that level. Once it crosses that level, then I think that we can try to reclaim some of this up here. I'm overall long-term bullish on this, but you know, we'll see. We'll see how it shakes out. If you pull back all the way to the, you know, this is a daily, but on a stretched out time frame. So essentially, it's this. Here you have kind of a massive cup. Handle failed at the 200, came back down. Cup above the 200, formed the handle, and now breaking out. So if we continue this move, we have a lot of upside. I mean, we can get into 30 pretty quickly. I would say in the next couple months. Maybe by summertime we can be right at 30. And if we can get to 30 from there, there's a little bit of a magnet right here, 32, and then up there we can get to 35. So I'll be watching X. I'm always watching X. It always pays. So that's that. The last one that I have is Boeing. I have it as a short. I'm not too sure about it right now. But the reason why I have it as a short is because we had same thing, kind of inside month breakout to the upside. Instead of resting the way that the other few did, it moved up and it moved up. So strong move. A bunch of sellers are residing in this area. You see all these wicks up here. That's all sell pressure, and it's forming again this month. If you look over at the weekly, we kind of have a evening star reversal pattern, kind of, although not as clearly defined as I would like to see. Right, a true evening star with this red candle would be the size of this black candle right here. So not a true evening star, but potential for maybe there's another red week that comes back down to test this previous resistance, maybe, right? One thing I see now, actually looking at it now, and I'm seeing this inside week. So range can go anywhere. It can really go sideways if it wanted to, and that'll be fine. And then from there, maybe it'll change our mind, right? If we look at the daily, it's underneath the 9 EMA on a daily. It couldn't hold the 9. It fell underneath it. It tested it on Thursday. Again on Friday, tested it and rejected. And then actually, is that an inside day on Thursday and Friday? Let's see. Low 204.82. No, it broke down the low, right? It broke down the low and buyer stepped in. Now, I'll be watching it for it to take this level out at around 203 and change. I wanted to take this low out and then that'll be kind of, maybe in 2 days, that'll be where these two moving averages are. So if it'll fail those two moving averages, and it has a big drop down to the next moving average. And then like kind of we have all these shorts to undo, all these stop losses to undo. So yeah, and if it doesn't fall, it doesn't fall, whatever, right? No big deal. But I like it to the downside if we do get like a down. And again, these downside plays are if we get like a nasty day in the market or a nasty week in the market. Speaking of the market, if we go back to SPX, we're right at that trend line again. We actually have a nice little wedge forming on the weekly between this trend line from last year, January 2022, into really into here, right? Into the low of the year, of last year, right? We have that wedge. So decision time coming soon. So let's see what happens. So what do you guys want to look at? I have time for two charts. What would you guys like to look at? Let me go grab a quick glass of water. I'll be back. All right, let's see. Okay, I see no requests. So I'm gonna go ahead and look at Tesla because we haven't talked about Tesla yet. Tesla sliding on the monthly. This broadening is a little bit more aggressive than all the other ones. It did form a lower low this month so far. It is bouncing a little bit. However, I'm gonna go ahead and just draw a fib. Let's see, do it from here to here real quick. What you want to see? Yeah, so that's what I was looking for. So all right, if you look at the move on Tesla on a weekly, it kind of pulled back, went sideways on this level, came back a little bit to around the 618, not quite at it, but around it, and then continued to move down to right around the 1.618. So this fib, let me get rid of this other one. So this area right here, which is pretty crucial. Now, if we were to look at it on the and now from there, I don't know, who knows? I mean, it's already kind of pulling back a little bit on the move. Let me go ahead and draw another one from here to here. Get rid of this one. And we've backwards. Hold on. You gotta draw in the direction you're going. So we've pulled back to just about the 618, right? The 618 is at 139.30. So we pulled back into it. I would expect it for it to kind of slow down around this area and maybe go sideways before it decides to make a big move down or continue to move up. But I expect some sideways, maybe 1 week or 2 weeks of sideways action. Let's see. It does look very strong coming into this. We fell pretty hard, little indecision here, and then we kind of reversed. So 136.62 is the first level to take out. If it takes that out, 139. If it rejects 139, I expect it to come right back to this 133 level right here. LMT has earnings this week. Tuesday pre-market, so that means we have a play potentially on Monday. Excuse me. Big move to the downside after consolidation, right? So range expansion on this candlestick, range contracting on these two candlesticks, range expansion on this candlestick, right? Big retracement. If we look at the weekly, it went kind of sideways, contracted range, move up, expanded range, into a contracted range, down to an expanded range, right? So right now it looks like it's hanging on to the 200-day moving average. Now they're reporting earnings, and their earnings are always talk about the past. Based on what's been going on, obviously in the world, it's not much in the news, but there's still Ukraine is still at war with Russia. You know, there's still a lot of movement in these wartime sectors. So based on that, and then Boeing has earnings on Wednesday. So so that short play for Boeing may or may not come to fruition depending on what happens, especially with this one coming out on Tuesday. Now they're gonna report, and I know they've been making money, right? People have been these companies have been investing, especially this country, United States, has been investing in Lockheed Martin. And so what I would do is, if you're interested in playing something like this, I will go ahead and look at go to finviz.com, finviz.com, and I would see the buyer, the insider activity. Are they buying or are they selling, right? Now, if you do see some sellers, that's okay. Is it really aggressive or is it profit taking? I would expect that maybe this month it's been a bit of profit taking. However, one thing I will say is if there are insiders who are selling right before earnings, that's usually not a good thing. So I would go ahead and just follow them and see what they're doing, see if they're selling. I'll do some research tonight and see if I can find something, but on a technical tip, it's really good because it's underneath all the moving averages, underneath the 100-day right here, and hanging on for dear life at that 200-day. And then in terms of financials and technicals, I don't know what the expectation is, right? Let's see what it was. And this is the earnings that catalyzed that big move to the upside. Now, they earned less than their estimated revenue for that earnings period, but they beat earnings like crazy on that earning period, right? So regardless, it was a mixed bag, obviously, but the 3.19% beat on the earnings side was massive for them. Now, who's to say that they didn't set a large expectation on this one? What was the estimate here? Estimate 6.65 and 16.65. Estimate here 7.4 and 18.27. So they increased their expectation on earnings estimate and revenue estimate. They've increased the expectation, right? What was it here? And it was 1.8 and 15, barely almost 16, right? So they've been increasing, and now LMT was able to hit it in October. But this is a massive increase in estimate in earnings estimate for 6 months. It was 1 billion, now it's 7.4 billion. Or sorry, it was what was it? One something earnings per share. Now it's 7.4. Right, 18 million or 18 billion. It was 15 or 16 back then. So it's just getting more difficult. I mean, they might hit, but if they don't hit, because these are high numbers, this thing's gonna tank. It's gonna come right back down to this area of value right here at 397, 400-ish. But again, I don't know. Who knows? We gotta see. Who knows? Let's have another look at Boeing now that we know that they have earnings in a week. I mean, let's see. They've been down on their earnings ever since the last time they were up was July of 2021. And even then they formed a red month. And they've still been in that downtrend even in July of 2021. There was one that I saw that, yeah, this one. Is it this one? Yeah, July 2021. I mean, they beat on massive beat of earnings beat and massive revenue beat. But even with those massive beats, I mean, the thing continued to fall, and it's just been down ever since. After every result, they've just lost every single time. So each time, 12% loss, massive losses too. Look at these massive losses. This is exaggerated. This is ridiculous. 4,000% surprise to the downside. So the estimation is a little bit higher for earnings this month, and also for revenue. It's higher. So is that based on the fact that we're there's a war going on? Who knows? But I don't expect much. I mean, I really don't know. And again, there's nothing that's I can sit here and try to analyze this and even still with a 3-hour analysis of this and every single point, and who knows how the market is going to react to it. There's really no way of telling, right? And then NOC has earnings on the Thursday. So it's Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, these security sector. Same setup, big move up. Where is it? Big move up here on the monthly. Massive move up, consolidation, and then massive fall. Now, this was a big candlestick. It broke all previous support. We had a trend line here. Right? There's your trend line right there. And it broke down through the trend line. So now we have some of these levels to take down. We got this level here. We got this level here. We got this level. And then we got this level and this level. So, I mean, I would love to see these companies fail. Give some of the money back, right? Just decrease the stock price. Decrease the stock price. We can make some money on the puts. Right? The taxpayers can make some of their money back from all this war, all this bullshit. But again, who knows? Who knows? I keep my eye on the things that, on what we can control. We can control our emotions when it comes to our plays. We can control the downside by setting stop losses. We can, we can control how much of a position size we're in. The dollar is falling. Dollar's falling pretty hard. Let's see. And then CVX. So DXY and then CVX will be the last one. So dollar's been ripping pretty much for the past 2 years, ripping from the inside bar on October, fell hard November, and continued to fall into January 2023. Now, there's one target right there. After we break down that level, the next level to break down will be that 98.30. This is so when this goes up, tech goes down, right? The market goes down, and tech is the one that's bringing the market down. So there's an inverse relationship there. Not as fluid as the VIX, for example, but like it's, for example, like if the dollar's getting stronger, people invest in things that, like bonds, for example, right? The dollar, this and bond, and like the 10-year and the 2-year and the 5-year usually are in correlation. So when this is down, or when this is ripping, why are people gonna invest in failing equities where there's layoffs and all kinds of garbage earnings results and bad products and just bad news overall? Why would I waste money in equities when I can put it into bonds? People, at the end of the day, money wants to go where it's going to grow. So looking at this, I mean, we're right at this level here where we kind of bounced in the past. We're slowing down the downside move. There's a nice little gap right here. I don't watch this ticker at all. I do read about, people online talk about it, so I'll kind of follow it through them. But this is probably my second time looking at this ticker. But we had this nice little move. So there's some demand here. If demand continues, then we can bounce. Otherwise, this is a very strong downtrend, and so there's really no reason for me to think that this is going to continue. This is going to bounce at this area at all. we did have a little bit of a bounce here on a weekly. We did have a little bit of a bounce here on the hourly. So if it does bounce and you have your reason to, but otherwise, I would like for this to go down so that my tech stocks can go up, right? Breakthrough 108, what is this? 101.30 down to 98.30, right? And we just got a death cross on the daily, 50-day cutting through the 200-day. So this might continue to move down, which is good for the stock market. Very good for the stock market. CVX in the monthly, we had a big move out of this kind of downtrend for these past few months. Big strong move, broke above the previous high, all-time high in October, continued and made a new high in November, and then rejected. And we've been rejecting ever since. Now we are inside of the price action of December, so things can go in any direction. Right now it looks like it wants to go up and through. And so the first target for this, I mean, if you want a safety play, take it above 182.38, which is the high of day. Let's go to the weekly over here real quick. 182.38 is the high of last week. Above that, you get to the high of this is November, 184.55, and then above that we get 189.68, which is all-time high. Right, I believe so. Yeah, all-time high. So we're right at all-time high. We do have this kind of trend line that's been holding for us right now. So if we don't take out the high of day or if we do take that out, but we don't take out that previous high, high of weeks rather, then we can easily fall through this trend line and back to this anchored VWAP over here, where the previous resistance was right around 164.86. Looking at the daily, again, we're holding that trend. Prices above the 50, above the 200, above the 100, above all the moving averages. Looks very strong. Actually, let me just quickly do, I want to draw a fib from there. From the doji to the high, we pulled back to right around 61%, and that's where it kind of slowed down. Buyer stepped in and kept it above the 61%. We kind of rejected the 78 a little bit, and now we're above that 78. So a good area to kind of bounce at. You see this super aggressive channel that I'm going to get rid of right now. Goodbye. Yeah, so we had a nice big move. Consolidation, big range getting tested here, fell out of the range, made a new range, jumped out, came back, holding trend, making higher highs and higher lows. Right now we need to take out that 180, whatever the number is, 182.38. I'm going to go ahead and send an alert there. 182. And if you see me call it an energy ticker, it's because this thing is probably above that level. CVX, usually I play XOM and Oxy. Those are the ones that I like to look at. CVX sometimes will lead, sometimes will lag. It really depends. CVX likes to trade in ranges, so you got to really catch it outside of the range. And then they have earnings on Friday. So you can play from now into Friday, or you can buy out sometime, maybe by a week or two or three or a month if you want to play through earnings. So we have somebody who knows a little bit about the industry. I say a little bit, I mean a lot more than a little bit, in the room, saying that they like an earnings play for this. So take with, do with that what you will. Again, none of this is financial advice. It's just a bunch of internet friends looking at charts together, right? So do with that what you will. But that's it, guys. That's it for me tonight. Thank you guys so much for joining. I know this is late for some. But even if it's late, it's always the perfect time. Each and every week, we're going to continue to do this and make sure that we find we're prepared to take the moves when they come, right? So just to recap, you have, to the upside, you have Baidu, LRCX, NVIDIA, Starbucks, Square, and X. Downside plays, I have Boeing, which again is an earnings gamble this week. We have Costco and we have Moderna. And then again, the SPX is really going to be dependent on what's going on with Apple, as always, right? But especially this week because SPX is sitting right at that downtrend line. So let's keep that in mind, guys, as we go into this week. Set your targets, set your alerts. Don't get greedy, and take profit when you see it. Don't trade with your imagination or your emotions because you're really trading with your dollars. So, and those two don't get along. All right, guys, thank you so much, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for joining. Peace.